On to South Africa, where Archbishop Desmond Tutu, one of the leaders of the anti-apartheid movement, has died at the age of 90. Tutu was an outspoken critic of the country's system of oppression against the black majority. Tutu was diagnosed with prostate cancer in the late 1990s and has been hospitalized several times in recent years to treat infections associated with his cancer treatment. The passing of Archbishop Desmond Tutu is another chapter of bereavement in our nation's farewell to a generation of outstanding South Africans who have bequeathed us to a liberated South Africa, the President Cyril Ramaphosa said. And joining us now from South Africa is journalist Paul Tilsley. Paul, thank you very much for being with us. And before I even ask you about the mourning generally in the country, I want to ask you about your personal experiences with Archbishop Tutu, and I understand you knew him quite well.
I did indeed, and it is a very sad day for all of us here in South Africa today. I have certain personal memories I'd like to share with you, Jonathan. Starting off with, my first memory was him marching at the head of an anti-apartheid march in Cape Town. And he was then, Jonathan, this was in the 80s, he was at severe risk of being shot because it was during the dark days of a state of emergency with the white government. Then I moved forward to probably about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when he was appearing at a social event and he was blessing a creche. And he was very late. I'm afraid timekeeping was not one of his best attributes. And he arrived about half an hour late, and it was extremely hot. The world's media were there, and we were all frankly a bit cheesed off that we were still waiting for him because it was in the countryside. There was no reason to be late. But a band struck up as he got out of the vehicle, as he arrived, and he just made all our worries go away. With that beaming, impish smile of his, he just burst into dancing and danced his way into the venue, and everybody just laughed with him and danced with him. Not us journalists, I don't dance very well. And then the next real story was on the same day. Obviously, the world's media wanted a photo with him. So they got all these 4- and 5-year-old kids to stand behind him. And they'd obviously been told, the kids, that he was somebody very important. But for them, he was a bit strange because it was a man dressed in a purple skirt, as far as they were concerned, as he was in his archbishop's clothes. And he stood there, and the press obviously wanted the moment that the picture should be taken. And as you know, there's a standard thing where you say cheese to get people to smile. But in this case, he turned around to these 4-year-old kids, and he broke all of us up when he turned round to the kids and said, "All right, on the count of 3, say after me, whiskey."
I'm sure the kids, it was a very nice memory for them. And those kids, again, remembering this today, what does this day mean for those kids, for you, for South Africa in general?
Well, I think it's a real milestone, Jonathan. Very good question. You know, I remember also the day that Nelson Mandela was released from prison. I was here, and the very next day he came back from Cape Town, where he'd been imprisoned, as you know, to Johannesburg, to Soweto. And there's this small street there that is now a big center of attention for tourists, quite rightly so, because it's the only street in the world, Jonathan, where there are 2 Peace Prize winners' houses. Nelson Mandela's original house, Archbishop Desmond Tutu's original house, which is like 2 minutes walk from one to the other. And he was there to welcome back Nelson Mandela in my memory. And he just was a man of the people. He was quite difficult. He was outspoken. He was fearless. He was fiercely South African. He was considerate. He was deep. He was often challenging, though, to the point that he often took and held a view that was not popular with everyone. He was blessed with humility, passion, and an outstanding sense of humor. He was often, it has to be said, like a dog with a bone. If he got his teeth into a particular issue, nothing would shake him from it or make him let go. Jonathan?
And shortly, what kind of ceremonies are expected now in the country?
It's too soon to say, Jonathan, because the news here broke just around about an hour ago. I would imagine that he will get a full state funeral. He's right up there with Nelson Mandela, obviously as a Nobel Peace Prize winner, both of them. But he was dearly loved. You sometimes wouldn't respect his views. You know, he's been very controversial about international affairs, as you know as well. But you had to love the guy when you saw him. There was a special presence. I would say I've been very fortunate as a journalist to have been in the presence of three people where you feel there's a special aura. One was
Desmond Tutu, clearly one of them. We can speak for hours and hours of Desmond Tutu. Unfortunately, as our time is up. Paul Tilsley joining us from South Africa. Thank you very much for being with us.